got Thomason on the left. Blue-White-Red Miracles versus Blue-White Stoneblade. And, of course, as we do get results from other matches, we will certainly let you guys know exactly what's going on at home, since I'm sure we have some very interested people, especially a lot of people curious to see how Blue-Black Death Shadow is doing. So as we find out, we'll certainly let you know.
Yeah, a little side note here. That he goes by Ty. It's kind of interesting. Do you know that's the reason why I go by Shaheen now, right?
Why is that?
Is Magic. Because I actually went by Sean in middle school and high school.
Okay.
But my real name was used so much when I was doing any kind of like states or any kind of local tournaments that they called me Shaheen. Magic players don't call me Shaheen. So most people now in the Magic world call me Shaheen. So that's a little bit of history.
So
Sean,
can I call you Sean?
call me Sean if you want, yeah.
That
is my American name.
Okay.
It's a little bit easier to pronounce.
I'll call you Shaheen.
I appreciate it.
No
Thanks.
problem.
Either one. Whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Top to start the show here for bats. You see there's going to be a sacrifice of a polluted Delta by Thomason. So we'll see if this Sensei's Divine Top is going to resolve or not. Big important part to the Miracles deck is getting a top online. There's a Brainstorm in response there from Thomason. So we'll see exactly what he's digging for here. The red splash in Bass's deck, just a small touch. He's got a wear and tear in his sideboard. Probably has access to a couple red elemental blasts, 3 of them to be exact. So not a huge dip in the red for the Miracles deck.
Yeah, never really ever had a lot of red, these Miracle decks. I mean, a lot of times we saw Blood Moon in the day. I'm surprised that they don't actually use it anymore, because even though Blood Moon kind of hurts you, it hurts them a lot more. It's kind of like the Sulfuric Vortex argument. You're not going to bring it in against a mono red burn deck. The same thing with Blood Moon. You're going to bring it in against decks that it's good against. So if I was Joe, I'd probably play a couple on my board, but he knows what he's doing. He's doing well so far, and we're going to see if he can beat a new and improved Stoneforge Mystic with Sword of Fire and Ice. I wonder if that's going to catch on.
I kind of like the sword.
Me too.
Especially when it's on a Trinity Nemesis. I can get down with that.
It does mean things then. Mean things.
Bass going to take a top spin before his draw step. You see Terminus, Counterspell, and a Source of Plowshares in there. So he's going to want to obviously float that Terminus around. Now the big question here is, does he have a second land? Because you see he's really kind of slow here on how he wants to set this top. So this is a little bit concerning, those 3 cards. And of course, as I said, he does want to float Terminus probably near the bottom if he can.
Right, and if he doesn't have another land, he definitely has to put the Ponder on top there.
So it's Counterspell.
Oh, it looks like it's that art that you love, right?
Yeah. Let's take a draw step.
So he doesn't have a second land?
Yep, okay, he's got a Flooded Strand.
Okay.
So I think he's basically thinking to himself, which of these cards is the most important. He's got a Scalding Turn Tune, so lands are not going to be the issue. The fact that he has to fetch away and clear his Sensei's Divine Top might be a little bit scary, but he's got lands. So
yeah, he has the opportunity to kill Stoneforge Mystic here with Sword of Plowshare. I don't know what he would hold it for. I mean, we see the factory there. But I guess Click is not a bad one either.
Yeah, main phase from Dylan Click. Pretty, and he got that pretty fast, too.
Yeah.
Thinking that was the plan all along. So now Bass is going to show his hand. He says, I got a Terminus, I got a Swords, I got a double Force Will, a Flooded Strand, and a Arid Mesa.
This is actually going to work out perfect, too, because he actually has Terminus on top. So he's going to be able to, and he didn't put it to the next card, so he's going to be able to Terminus both those creatures away, preventing the no-click from beating him down or putting in the Sword of Fire and Ice. So he's going to put Force Will on bottom. He's going to draw a card, and I think that'll leave the Terminus second card from the top there.
This is kind of interesting because he does draw the card now, and he's going to come.
So he's going to wait here. He's going to draw, and then he's going to Miracle Terminus here.
Mm-hmm.
And as suspected, the 1-2.
Yeah, just kind of how he set it up, honestly. Top management with this deck is so key, and it's really a skill. Here's Force of Will. I'm gonna remove a card.
Do you like this Force of Will here? I don't think you need to.
I mean, this Force of Will is really telling, right? This Force of Will is going to remove Counterspell, so now they're fighting over a Terminus that's going to resolve now. This Force of Will is basically saying that I don't really have much action from Thomason.
Yeah, the only reason I don't think I would actually even force the Force back if I'm Joe, I do have Sword of Plowshare, and I'm not really scared of Stoneforge Mystic at this point. I mean, he got a Sword of Fire and Ice, so not too scary. Maybe he has the Batterskull in hand already, which would be a lot scarier. But having the sword make me feel a little safer to not fight over this Terminus here.
See, Thomason has an island in his hand, got a Stoneforge Mystic. That sword that we do know about as well. So see how he wants to move forward with these turns. Also has the factory at the ready.
I don't think he has Batterskull in his hand.
No, he does not have the Batterskull. He's going to start with the factory.
So he's going to dispatch the factory with Sword of Plowshare here. So the sword will be used, and Joe, competent player, did very well. He's won one of these before. has played a little bit differently than I would in the previous match as well, but definitely not incorrectly. I think it's just different lines. I don't think you were here. It was Ruben, and we had Jason play, and he liked to +2 +2 +2, where I would love to brainstorm. So he did a little bit differently.
So now, Stoneforge Mystic going to come into play. See if this is going to resolve here for Bass, as he did fire off a sword to take care of that Stoneforge. To take care of that Mistress Factory. So now he's got to decide if he wants to take care of this one. So Stoneforge is going to resolve. You're going to go searching. There is the Batter Skull in the grip to go along with the sword, and then a swords to plowshares.
That's definitely the scarier equipment than Fire and Ice at this point. Batter Skull, arguably the best one. Stoneforge Mystic was a problem in Standard before even it came out. And then they're like, why not? Let's put this in there with it, too. See what happens. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Free creature, 4/4, lifelink, Exalted Angel.
Invalidate a bunch of decks.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah. All right, well, Standard will become the least popular in years.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually got a good home in Legacy. I was surprised when I saw it in Legacy because I know it was good in Standard, but it just instantly became a Legacy deck. Just off the bat, 4 Stoneforge Mystics, Jason Mind Sculptor. The entire Standard deck became Legacy.
Yeah.
And a big player. We see 2 in the top 8 today, so. Well, actually 3 if you count the Blue White Red Miracle deck playing them as well.
Yeah, Joe's got a couple of things in there. A lot of the time you just see him kill with, a Jace or Entreat the Angels, maybe a Venser or a Vendilion Click, but he's also got access to Stoneforge and Batterskull in his deck. So he's going to spin top one more time. You see that land out there, 3 copies of Taiga. Jace the Mind Sculptor at the top. He's very quickly going to sacrifice Arid Mesa to go get a land. See what he's going to go search for. It's going to be a Volcanic Island. Again, both players have access to each other's deck list at this point, so the fact that he has red mana in his deck is not going to be a surprise here to Thomason.
Not at all, not at all. And Thomas is not too afraid of anything from the red source of mana, besides a little bit of sideboard blast action. But the bolts aren't too scary, anything like that, any kind of red spell like that.
So Jace is going to come into play. He says pick up that Stoneforge Mystic, something that we've seen Joe do before, too. Just, aggressively using Jace for the unsummon effect, make him recast Stoneforge Mystics. Now Stoneforge is going to come back down.
I don't think Ty has an answer to an onboard Jace, does he? He might have one Detention Sphere, maybe?
I know we saw Detention Sphere in the one game that we did watch him, but that Detention Sphere was in the sideboard, so an onboard Jace is actually very difficult for him to get off the board. As you did mention, it involves actually attacking.
Oh.
I think it's True Name Nemesis would probably be the best way to go about doing it.
Right, yeah. Tough to get that guy into play at this point, too, being a 3-mana card. Joe probably will only counter that. He has Terminus access as well. So to consider True Name Nemesis to be an actual answer is pretty rough if you're in Ty's position. Against the Terminus deck.
And now we are getting the lock on. Counterbalance comes into play. There's the Swords Plowshares to take care of the Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, this is
We've already brainstormed, so now it gets ugly.
Yeah, this is just miserable at this point now. Not going to resolve any more spells, pretty much. Jace, unkillable in all intents and purposes. Top response, why not?
Yeah, I mean, might as well spin. If you got a 3 there, you might as well counter that bad boy. Now, this is a little game where, you want to conceal information as best you can. If you do have a 3, you can certainly counter it, but he doesn't, so Sword's going to resolve. The important thing here is that Thomason needs something to actually go along with that Sword, as Bass is going to start his turn by brainstorming with Jace yet again. I know your favorite mode on the Planeswalker.
I love it. And actually, I walked over to him before he made the top 8 here, and I told him, I'd probably brainstorm more if I was you, and he laughed about it. He's like, pretty much you would.
Yeah.
But Brainstorm is definitely more fun.
There's a Batterskull. There's a 5. So Joe knew that Batterskull was coming. He had a Force of Will. Put it right back. He's going to spin top one more time to make sure his draw step is exactly what he wants. And you can see exactly what happens when Blue Red Miracles gets going. And as you mentioned a little bit earlier today, Abrupt Decay is the thing that really pushed us out of the format. But if you take a look at our top 8 decks, outside of Jason Crone and his Bug Delver deck, you're not going to find many Abrupt Decays in this top 8. Actually, none.
Yeah, and that's definitely good news for Joe.
Yeah.
I would challenge maybe that his loss Joe had might have been to an Abrupt Decay deck.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, right?
Yeah, and that's just something that you take the good with the bad here and you let it happen. There's nothing in Magic I've played in recent times where I've been more dejected than a counterbalance in the top in play. Like it's almost like, well, maybe I'll resolve a spell one day, maybe I'll be able to do it. And probably not, actually. And you just keep trying and trying. And the fact that it negates any 1-mana spells just due to the fact you can put top on top of his library and counter with counterbalance makes it even that much worse to actually dredge along through this match.
Yeah. And it's a format that relies a lot on 1-mana spells, so the fact that top and counterbalance is so good here is not much of a surprise, but it can be frustrating.
Yeah, definitely.
So you see that Joe does have again the soft lock in play, the top end of the counterbalance. Jason's starting to tick up and doing his Fate Seal dance, and he does have along those lands an Academy Ruins in case he needs to get something back. True Name Nemesis being placed on the stack, and this is the scary one.
Yep.
So spin the top. Does he have a 3?
He has the Force Will at worst, so he'll be able to force this. We saw it earlier when Joe flipped it on top of his library. It's if he doesn't have a 3 and he does not. So Force will probably come down and deal with the card, or he has Terminus as well, either one.
Okay, well, that's a clean answer to it. So Terminus is going to take care of the Nemesis for just 1 mana. So that's the draw step. Joe says, I'm going to Fate Seal again, I believe. Yes, I will. Take a look-ski-poo. Leave that on top and pass it back.
I'm glad Terminus is seeing play, too. I mean, obviously the Miracle deck's the only one that can take full advantage of it, but it's a card that it didn't really shine as much as it could have in Standard. You saw it as a 4 of and then a 0 of with Supreme Verdict taking over. Then Supreme Verdict was no good and you saw it again. But I'm glad that it's going to finally have a home. This feels like a retirement home, Legacy, where you can, and actually it will have some play, some action. It'll still be around, playing some putt-putt golf or whatever. It's still doing things. It's not off in, non-existence anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big Terminus fan, even, when it was released and it was in Standard and, Miracles, High Variance, Bonfire, blah, blah, blah. I always thought this card was really cool just because it's this 1 mana Wrath effect and, it can really swing a game. And the fact that they can control it in this Miracle deck, I think, is a really cool thing because, 1, it makes the deck more powerful, but 2, having to play around Terminus or play against it is actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out if your opponent does or does not have Terminus. Are they floating it with the top? Are they not? Are they bluffing? Are they bringing something back to their hand? All that stuff. It's actually a pretty cool mini game you get to play.
Yeah, and like you said, it's high variance, and you get to win games that you have no business winning.
Yeah.
One of my matches, I won off a thing twice on their turn and flipped the Terminus as one of the invitationals. And you haven't lived until you've done that. And you've bonfired a lot.
Many a soul.
You've bonfired many people. So
Brainstorm gets countered by Counterbalance, revealing Sensei's Divining Top, and Thomason is going to pack it in, so Joe Bass is going to win game number 1 with Blue-White Red Miracles over Ty Thomason playing Blue-White Stoneblade. We're going to kick it back to the booth here because it's trivia time. My friend Shaveen here is going to ask a question. I'm going to explain the rules very quickly, which, of course, get your Twitters open because you've got to get that hashtag of SCG Premium and follow SCG Live because he's going to ask you a question, you're going to answer it, and we're going to announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinals. So again, it's about accuracy, not speed, and we'll select 1 person from the group of people who do get it correct. So Shaheen, for 3 months, my friend, fire away.
All right, so we actually had a little bit of banter back and forth about a certain card that deals with cards like Sensei's Divining Top. You can do it in response to a fetch land or counterbalance, being able to bust that up a little bit. A card that can deal with a lot of things from the blue decks because it can't be countered. Yep. It's a very effective removal spell. What card from the last year's sets, is able to deal with counterbalance Sensei's Divining Top and cannot be countered from one of the decks in the top 8 here?
Oh. So if you can name that card that takes care of counterbalance, takes care of Sensei's Divining Top, and cannot be countered from Return to Ravnica, hashtag your answer with the hashtag of SCG Premium. And make sure you're following SCG Live as well, so the winner, we can get it over to you, as we're going to take a look at the sideboards now here. I've got Ty Thomason's deck list in front of me. He's going to be on the play this game since he lost, so we'll start here. We've got 3 copies of Rest in Peace, 2 Meddling Mage, 2 Swan Song, a Flusterstorm, a Path Exile, Supreme Verdict, Venser Shaper Savant, Manriki Gusari, Detention Sphere, Pithing Needle, and a 4th True Name Nemesis in the board. Kind of interesting. I think the first step is to get that 4th True Name Nemesis into the deck. I think that's an easy one. Detention Sphere is kind of interesting, too, because it can actually take care of a resolve counterbalance, depending on how things do line up. But the big one here, I think, that's neat, is Swan Song, because that can counter Terminus, it can counter Instance and all that good stuff. It can also counter counterbalance. So it seems like it's got a pretty good home here. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Swan Song a lot in this matchup. Pretty much the only card it doesn't really hit is Jason Mind Sculptor, which is okay. I mean, obviously that's going to be the card that beats you, and we saw that match, even though counterbalance top came through in a pinch there to stop all spells from resolving. The true enemy of the state is Jason Mind Sculptor in these blue versus blue matchups. You're not going to lose many games to other cards. It usually boils down to that. Usually it reminds me of the Aetherling in Standard. Jason Legacy, there's all these cards and fireworks and distractions before the Planeswalker comes down, but that's actually the thing that's going to deal the final points of damage there. So let's look at the sideboard here. We have Rest in Peace, no good. Mountain, going to definitely come in because we have 3 red elemental blasts. And that is a pretty impressive amount of blasts here. And I'm surprised he has so many, but it's definitely going to be good here. Being able to counter, that counters everything. That adds any threat to you whatsoever. It kills Jace, it kills True Name Nemesis, it kills all these things. It's very, very good. Umezawa's Jite, he has one in the sideboard. Not so good. Obviously, he does kill Vendoing Click. And I think if they have Jite, sometimes I want Jite too. It kind of is one of those things where if I have Jite in play and I get counters on it, I can prevent you from ever equipping your Jite because all your guys are very low toughness. You have 1 toughness clicks, you have 2 toughness Stoneforge Mystics, 2 toughness workshops. So not workshops, but Mistress Factory. Excuse me. We had workshop discussion earlier.
Yes,
if it was unbanned, what would happen?
Can we get that unbanned, please?
Let's leave it the way it is. That's fine. All right, we got some results going to be coming in soon. And Tommy Wells won game 1.
Yeah, that's Rug Delver up a game over Alexander Doshnell playing Merfolk. So the 8th seed is up a game even though he was on the draw, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We've got Wyatt Archer playing the Blue-Black Death Shadow deck, defeated Jason Cronin in game 1 too. So looks like we might be in Sorcerer for some more Blue-Black Death Shadow.
All right, good. I mean, again, we like to see decks that aren't around often, decks that are rogue in some way. We saw in Milwaukee commentating an Oops, I Win deck, and I don't know if you saw that same deck. It was a oh no, Oops, No Land, excuse me.
Yeah.
That's the name of the deck. Oops, All Spells.
Oops, All Spells, Oops, No Lands,
Oops, No Lands.
You lose.
A lot of oops,
yeah.
oopsing going on. And it was a deck where you pretty much mill yourself, and you win with a Zombie Lady of Scrolls and Laboratory Maniac. Pretty funny deck. It lost in the finals, almost won. But here we have serious decks.
Yeah, here we have decks that everyone is used to.
This is serious business here. An epic battle between Blue Control versus Blue Control. One is more controlling than the other, being in the Miracle camp here. As we kind of predicted and we discussed it earlier, I think the Miracle player has an edge on the Stoneblade player because of the lack of black spells. So up a game already, Joe Bass is. In game 2, Ty's going to need some help. He's going to need to get a Lucky Swan Song on a counterbalance. Can't let that happen. Detention Sphere is a tough answer because it can be countered by the counterbalance. So you kind of have a situation where I think Ty's going to need a very, very potent draw to be able to beat Joe's.
Well, again, I think it's going to be a big deal of getting True Name Nemesis into play. And part of the reason I kind of like your plan of boarding in Umezawa Jite is just because, if you're able to get counters on it before True Name Nemesis does show up, perfect. You can take care of True Name Nemesis that do show up after the party. So that's nice. Quick update here on another match between 4 and 5, Avery Williams versus Kyle Edwards. Avery Williams does win game number 1, so the Ad Nauseam player does defeat Esper Stoneblade. And so you didn't think that was going to happen, but you thought that Ad Nauseam was going to win game 1, though.
How dare you?
I'm sorry? Should I apologize? I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not his fault. I'm sure he got bad luck. That's all.
And now we're being informed that Wyatt Archer with Blue-Black Death Shadow has just defeated Jason Crone. So Wyatt is going to be very interested to see exactly what happens here because he's going to be playing against the winner of this match between Blue-White Red Miracles and Blue-White Stoneblade. And we're underway in game number 2. Thomason's going to keep his 7 as his best. And so you've got a Tundra to get the show started.
All right.
And there is Sensei's Divine Top. Card is so important to this deck. It almost makes you want to force a Willet or Pithing Needle or something to get it out of the way. Now here's a Meddling Mage. This card could be very interesting in this matchup. And there's the original art. So Chris Pakula, if you're watching, I'm sure you're happy.
Yeah, Meddling Mage is one of the coolest cards ever printed, I think. And he names Red Little Metal Blast. Definitely helpful that you can look at your deck list.
Yeah.
No way you name that card. You name, maybe Counterbalance or Jason Ice Sculptor. Jason My Soldier obviously a much worse name than Counterbalance here because Top's in play, and that is the true threat right now. You already have pretty much half the puzzle filled out.
Yeah.
You know what's coming here. It's not a secret.
I like that play too because now what Thomason's playing could be is like end of turn Vendilion Click, and then on your turn slam down a card like a True Name Nemesis or something of that nature. But Swords of Plowshares is going to take care of that Meddling Mage. So Chris Pakula is dead for right now. Joe draws his card. He's going to play Academy Ruins. And we'll see if he's got any more action. He's going to pass the turn back. Here's an end-of-turn Brainstorm from Thomason. That's going to quickly resolve here. And so you do see the Miracles player. This is the pace of game they want to be at. Slow and steady.
Yep, and the Miracle player, again, we mentioned earlier, he kind of fumbled on land a little bit because having 7 basic lands or 8 after board, you're going to have some awkward draws where you're missing double blue. Because you have a couple plains in your deck, you have Crocus in your deck, you have the 1 mountain in your deck. So here's a situation where he has Counterbalance in his hand, but he doesn't have the ability to kind of get into play right now. So we'll see if the top can lead him to a second blue source so he can play counterbalance with a blast backup. That's a pretty big game there if he gets that through.
All right, Ty Thomason's going to draw his card after resolving a brainstorm. There's a Mishra's Factory. Going to pass that turn back over to Bass. He's going to use that Academy Rune, spin that top on Thomason's end step. One thing I like about Joe, too, is he spins his tops pretty fast.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why top was banned in Modern, is because the speed, or I think it's extended first, it was banned in. And one of the reasonings is it's slow. It takes a long time. A lot of matches go to draws. You fetch top, you fetch, you keep going. It's a big problem in these formats here.
You see Joe's going to sacrifice that Arid Mesa, go get out a Volcanic Island, obviously important because he needs 1 blue mana, but 2, he needs red mana for the red elemental blast that is in his hand, as long as the other ones that are looming in his deck. So now he's going to spin the top, and I like this. He's going to spin it with the plains and leave up the red mana for the red blast. So see if he can find another land here, because he does have a counterbalance in his hand, but he's short of blue mana right now.
Yeah, that basic plains, Academy Ruins. There's a few tough cards to cast with those kind of land setups, if you will.
Bash draws a Brainstorm for the turn. See if he's going to fire this off right away so you can try to find, again, more blue mana, but he's going to go with Stoneforge Mystic.
And the best part about Stoneforge here is shuffling.
Yeah.
Because the top is just atrocious right now. You just need land. That's all Joe needs.
A lot of shuffle fetch in this deck, obviously, between fetch lands and top and, Chase Brainstorming and all this stuff. A lot of manipulation of the deck. So, as you mentioned earlier, it's pretty easy, actually, to find the one-ofs that you can sideboard into because you mess around with your deck so much.
Yeah, Legacy is a shuffle fest. Everybody's shuffling.
I love it.
I know. Shuffling is fun, except when at the beginning of the game when you put a card back. But we mentioned earlier, when do you mulligan? And mulliganing is actually a good thing, not a bad thing, and that's a mindset that I need to work on that other people have. For those listening, a lot of people, me included, I feel like we need to go to a meeting of some sort. Struggle with the mulligan. Yeah.
I love it. I love mulliganing.
You love to mulligan. You get to see a whole new hand. I guess it's pretty fun, right?
Yeah. Anything could happen with those new 6.
That's true.
Batterskull going to be searched out here with Stoneforge Mystic. Here's the thing. When you take a look at your opening hand, you take a long look at it. Look, you've been playing your deck long enough. You know what hands are keepable and what hands aren't.
Right.
So if you're looking at a hand for a long time, my thought process is you're trying to convince yourself to keep a bad hand. That's all you're doing.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
How about the feeling, though, when you keep a bad hand and you get there? Isn't that a good feeling? Come on now. You know it's a good feeling.
All right, it's definitely a good feeling. But
it's naughty.
Don't make me. Don't make me. See if Vendilion Click going to be played after that Stoneforge Mystic. Red Elemental Blast is going to take care of that, and we know that Bass does have another copy of that card in his hand. You can kind of see why Red Blast is in the deck, too, because it's so good against blue decks. But now the end boss is here. True Name Nemesis has arrived.
And he had another blast in hand, but the mana struggles that he had really hurt him here. But luckily, True Name Nemesis is kind of trumped by Batterskull. If you attack, you can't race that. You
Sure. I mean, you can just take care of the Batterskull just with the little block style, so not a big deal.
Big defender on his head.
There's a Stoneforge Mystic, so we could see a Batterskull coming now from a Thomason. You see True Name Nemesis. That is boy, we're going to get used to that card, I think.
Yep.
And that is going to be really annoying.
Yeah, it is. And it's one of those cards where Wind Spoiled has a lot of casual application to it. And that's what these cards are built for. They're built for the casual world. And Wizards has to be careful when they print these cards because going into Legacy is a fragile habitat, It's got the King of the Jungle here in Stoneblade and other decks that are very, very popular decks. And then when you throw something in here, it can really shake up the format and change a lot of things. All right, so Joe putting a couple cards back. He is ready to go here with his Stoneforge Mystic and Batterskull end of turn. All right, so think. I like the slow pace that Miracles takes this because all he needs really is a Terminus to kind of get back in this game to get rid of that True Name Nemesis. And Terminus is the clear, obvious trump to deal with things that have protection from all of you. Verdict ain't bad either. So.
Yeah, I also, because I'm trying to get used to True Name Nemesis during our sideboard discussion, I talked about how when I was GT, when you get counters on it, you can take care of True Name Nemesis after. Once you get the counters, that's just a blatant lie. That was just not even close to true. So that was embarrassing.
It is pro you.
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's just pro everything. I don't know what your counters can't kill. You can kill everything.
Yeah.
And you can't kill that though. So
Yeah, it seems like it should. It's not really coming from you, is it? It's coming from this equipment laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Kind of like little daggers flying at it. So
Well, if that thing's not scared of me, why would we be scared of a little dagger?
that's true.
I'm a scary guy.
It is scared of God, though. Wrath of God.
That's
destroys
true.
it.
A
Yeah.
supreme verdict.
Supreme
and everything
verdict.
else.
Yeah, all these Judgment Day things.
See some shuffling here from Bash. Again, you see his hand. He's got a counterbalance. He's got a Red Elemental Blast in his hand. Stoneforge Mystic going to put into play the old Batter Skull. And Germ Token incoming. I mean, got some work to do to get by that True Name Nemesis. Going to spin the top one more time here as well. And 3, so going to maximize his mana.
Yep.
Before moving back to his turn. And again, he does have counterbalance in his hand, so he can get that established. The only thing he needs to worry about right now is actually 2 things, I would say. Number 1, of course, is True Name Nemesis. Number 2 is that a Stoneforged Mystic that's in play that can put more things into play. So there's an island from Bass. And he's going to pass the turn back.
Yep. Shipping it to him. Telling him, you know what? We're at the stalemate. Can't really attack you. Can't attack me. And you know what? That's not really changing much of the Stoneblade Mirror anyway. Sometimes you get these Batter Skull wars that just get obnoxious. I don't know if you ever played that mirror match before where you're both at 75 life from Batter Skulls bouncing off each other, but definitely can make games go a little bit long.
It definitely can. That's what it may end up doing here too. So got a quick update as well. Alexander Docknell does win game 2 with Merfolk over Tommy Wells. So Rug, Delver versus Merfolk. They're going to a third and final one here. As you see Bass spinning that top yet again. As you did mention, it's a bit of a staring contest right now, but there will be something to break the parity soon enough, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. And back to this Merfolk matchup. Well, I thought it'd be pretty close, too. So this is going to be definitely a good game 3. And Merfolk, I wonder if Merfolk's on the play, did you say?
Yeah, so he won game 2, so that means that Tommy Wells is going to be on the play game 3.
Okay, so Rug Delver being on the play definitely gives him an edge here.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yep. All right, so what is Joe going to do here? He's got to deal with that True Name Nemesis eventually, but not a huge hurry. So he's going to cast Force of Will here on the click. The Force of Will will be blasted. And isn't Blast just the most fun card to have in the mirror? It's just like 1 mana, stop every card in your entire deck.
Yeah, kindly leave.
Yep. So
No,
Blast
that card
coming.
is great. Here's a brainstorm in response.
Yeah, I don't see. And Spell Pierce, ooh, on the Brainstorm. That is a juicy Spell Pierce, because it's hard to hit something with that when they have 6 lands in play, or 5 lands in play.
Yeah. So we see quite a fight. So Spell Pierce takes care of the Brainstorm. Red Blast takes care of the Force of Will. Vendilion Click's going to come in, hands up. Got a Batter Skull, got a Spell Snare.
Oh,
Get that Batter Skull out of here.
Spell Snare, not exactly an all-star in this matchup.
Yeah.
Does stop Stoneforge Mystic and counterbalance. But since it's only a 1-of, it's hard to rely on that card. So if you draw later in the game, let's say turn even 5 or 6, it turns pretty much into a dead card if it's not in your opener.
Tough card. So now there in comes Umuzawashite. Wow, okay. Equip the True Name Nemesis. So what a draw there from Thomason. So now Umuzawashite is going to come in, counters. True Nemesis is just going to... Oh, boy. Here we go. Now, this is exactly what I'm talking about with this card, because now it's on Joe. He's starting to get himself in some trouble where it's like, all right, I got to find Terminus now.
Yep.
To, kind of reset the board and get myself out of this awful situation.
Yeah. So
You see Joe's a little bit frustrated there. But now he's got to spin the top, and now he's got to find Terminus or some way to accelerate the board and start getting in. Now, the nice thing here for Joe is that he can attack with Batter Skull to gain some of that life back, but Umuzawashite can get pretty scary now.
So let's see if he has an answer. And luckily, since he can attack with the Batter Skull, it's not like Joe's life is going to be in danger anytime soon for dying. But, like you said, the urgency is definitely kicked up a notch.
So now we see an attack here for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Shoot down the Vendilion Click. Get you for 4. He's going to go up to 17. Thomason's going to go down to 16. But things are starting to turn a little bit in Ty's favor. Brainstorm here from Joe in the second main phase. Going to get a couple cards deeper. He'll put 2 back, and then he can look at a new 3rd card with the top. So when there's a Brainstorm, and he also can just play a fetch land, and actually shuffle away. So again, he's just searching. Right now, I feel like for Terminus to reset this board.
Right, and I don't think Joe would have boarded out Terminus.
No, definitely not.
You got to leave it in there. I wonder if Supreme Verdict might be better due to the ability of not being countered.
Sure.
So maybe he left in one of those, and maybe 1 or 2 Terminus. I'm not sure he left in the whole package here. We'll find out. So coming in, crashing in for 3, getting 2 more counters on Jite. Ready to go.
And there's a Jace.
The culprit, if you will.
Spin the wheel. Got to find a counterspell for this now, too.
Yep.
Because you can't let this resolve, because then he's coming at you from 2 different angles. You know, a Terminus will take care of the 2 creatures, but then you have to worry about the Planeswalker, too. So it's, boy, it's starting to get a little bit difficult here for the Miracles player.
Yeah, Staffcaster Mage would be a pretty good draw, too, since he's been using a few blasts here.
Mm-hmm.
He only has 1 copy of that. He has 1 blast left as well. But besides that, not too many answers to on-board Jaces. But neither of these players really have a way to remove these Planeswalkers besides dealing them lethal damage.
So Jace does come in. Now here comes a Brainstorm. So now Ty Thomason is catching up pretty well. Where a game I thought where Joe S was ahead, but again, True Name Nemesis, is a card that can really, really turn the game around with any equipment that's put on it. I mean, it would still be dangerous. That was a Sword of Fire and Ice.
Right.
So this is arguably it would be better for Sword of Fire and Ice. It could be drawing cards and just doing cool stuff with it.
Yeah, Fire and Ice is definitely better than GTA in this situation. And if you're going to play 3 or 4 of these True Name Nemesis, it might be even better than GTA in a vacuum. There, you might want to play it instead of GTA in the main deck if you only want to play 2 equipment.
So Joe's going to start his turn. He draws a card. Now he says, Batterskull, let's go after Jace. Let's see if we can get this thing off the table. So a couple removals, and now he's going to block. So now the Germ Token goes away. So you can see the effect that GTA is having on this game. Stoneforge Mystic is able to beat Batterskull in combat. Pass just has to pass the turn back, and now you can see he's a little bit behind Jace now. And if you've played any Legacy, and I know that you love a Jace, it only takes about 2 or 3 Brainstorms until things get ugly.
Right.
Now, you see a Brainstorm, and Joe says, response, draw a card with top.
Could be an Entreat the Angels, and it is.
Boy.
All right.
That'll change some things.
That'll definitely change some things. He's responding to the triggered ability.
So now he's going to respond with a Vendilion Click.
I don't think... Does...
Oh, that'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when
the Miracle Trigger,
Trigger goes on the stack,
yeah,
the card is in your hand,
yes,
and so now it's not there anymore, so you can't pay the cost.
Right.
So that's a really nice play there by Thomason.
Yeah.
So now Thomason's going to resolve his Brainstorm. He's going to put a couple of cards back with Jace, but the antidote I was going to make was, it only takes about 2 or 3 Brainstorm activations for Jace for the game to just be over.
Right.
Like, it's too hard to come back from that, amount of manipulation that you get to see, and, then the Fate Sealing begins, the Unsummoning, and then you're just too far behind. The only way you can really catch back up is with your own Jace. Batterskull going to get returned here.
Then replayed if he so chooses it.
Yeah, True Name is going to come across for some damage. You see the life totals there, 16 to 12. Force of Will there. And Thomason also has a Stoneforge Mystic and a Spell Snare. It says take care of that. Activate this in response. I want my Batterskull to come into play, so that's what that's going to do. Germ Token in.
And you see the swinginess of Legacy, too. Not too long ago, the board was switched, where Ty had 1 permanent play and Joe had Jace and all these things going on. So you have this situation in Legacy where the cards are just so good that you can't count anybody out. And usually the first one that plays Jace wins. It was actually the opposite in my experience when we had close matches with BBD in Baltimore, where the first one that played Jace actually lost. And here we're seeing the same situation here. First one who plays Jace is not exactly going to guarantee victory here.
As you see, Joe's going to sacrifice the fetch land. And now his top is gone, by the way, so don't forget about that either, because he had to shuffle that away because of Vendilion Click and all that stuff. So he's kind of playing off the top of his deck now.
Can he come back?
A big draw here for Joe is that Entreat the Angels, because don't forget, that was placed on the bottom of the deck from the Vendilion Click, so that's not in the graveyard. That can still be drawn, and if he does Miracle that off the top, that's a pretty savage draw, so we'll see if he's able to find one of those.
When there's a miracle, there's a way. And we've learned this in Standard for years, and there is one deck in Legacy, and Joe's playing it, that totes the line still brings the miracles to the tournament scene.
Yeah. Draw a card. It's not a miracle. So let's see what Bass can be able to do this turn. No real use of the Academy Ruins here. Batterskull, as good as that card is, not dominating the field like it normally does. There's a new problem card in this Legacy format, and its name is True Name Nemesis. Counterbalance coming into play for Joe. No top to go along with it, however.
Right. So we'll see if he can string together a couple of draws, because that counterbalance is not a dead draw, but not too great.
You can run good with counterbalance. Thomason has a Spell Snare in his hand, and he is going to Spell Snare this. Seems like begrudgingly he's going to Spell Snare it.
He's like, fine, that's a card, and I can target it with Spell Snare, so I'm going to use it.
Yeah, the only thing here is now that the shields are down on the Force Will, there's no other additional blue card. There's a force of will in the grip, and then like there's a sword of, fire and ice. Now
Oh,
top is going to show up.
good thing he spell snare that
Yeah, no
counterbalance.
doubt about it.
Would have the 1-2 punch there
And now a Snapcaster Mage.
for a blast. I'm assuming here.
Blast would be great. Blast it is. Take care of your Jace. That's going to happen. So, Bass is working his way back into this.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Legacy, right?
Yeah.
Come right back, and then at the top reveals Terminus on top. We're back into Joe's camp here.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. True Nemesis is going to untap. You see that Thomason has drawn a card. He's got a Force of Will, and he's got a sword. And we'll see what else he wants to do here, because you see Thomason kind of wants to put that sword of Fire and Ice into play, equip it on a True Name, and really try to get this game over with.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't want to do that? I want to do that. I'm not even in the match right now. I'm excited.
There is your sword. We'll see how he wants to use mana to equip. He's going to leave a factory open, put that on the Nemesis. So now that annoying merfolk is carrying 2 weapons. Vendilion Click going to come in the air. True Nemesis is going to be unblockable on the ground.
Here we go.
Spin it.
Is there a miracle?
3. Don't think so. You see a Spell Pierce, a top, and a mystery card.
Yep.
Still has some time to draw Terminus, however. You see an attack here. This is going to be an attack for 5 from the Nemesis, 2 from the Sword Trigger. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage, depending on where he puts the Sword Trigger, of course.
Count the click as well.
What's that?
Do you count the click?
Yeah,
as
you
well?
have 3 from the Nemesis, 2 from the equipped swords. That's 5, 6, 7, 8 from the Vendilion Click, and then depending on what Thomason wants to do with the 2 damage from the Sword Trigger, we'll see if he wants to put that towards Snapcaster Mage or just go upstairs.
I think you want to hit Batter Skull with it, the germ, and then remove 2 counters and kill the germ.
Okay,
token.
that's appealing too.
Yeah.
He's just going to end up taking down Snapcaster Mage.
That's fine too, actually, because you can just move the equipment on there. But if Joe's full turn is moving the germ, or the Batter Skull token on the Snapcaster Mage, that's not exactly that great.
Academy Ruins comes into play, and most of the time, Academy Ruins would destroy each other, but new Legendary Rule says that's not going to happen anymore. So both players will have access to that. Batter Skull going to come across, going to bring Joe up to 11. Let's see if he found anything to do with the top. He's going to start by spinning. We know, of course, 2 of those cards. The third one is the question.
And we know playing Blue-White Stoneblade, there are some advantages. You don't have black, so you lose that. But you have the ability to run 1 factory. You have the ability to run 1 Academy Ruins, because you really can't run those when you're playing Esper Stoneblade.
Well, Thomason is going to win this game. Joe Bass had finished off and said, there's no help coming. I can't be True Name Nemesis. So we're going to go into a third and final one here between Ty Thomason and Joe Bass. Blue-White Stoneblade versus Blue-White-Red Miracles. Shaheen, you have to be just in heaven right now.
Oh, yeah.
This matchup.
There's just Jaces everywhere.
Yeah, you can't be happier, I don't think. It's not possible.
I think, actually, the last commentary I did, there were 0 Jace in the top 8, if that's possible. It was just all a bunch of combo decks like Ant. We had that Oops deck as well. We had a couple aggro decks. We had a Goblin deck. So a lot of decks that had no Jaces. This is the opposite. This is Jace City. How can anyone be upset when you have Jaces here, huh?
Well, it's not hard for me, but
Definitely exciting. Definitely exciting card. Definitely exciting to have out. And again, Jace, even though it resolved both times there, it didn't exactly give Ty the game. Joe had a couple opportunities there to hit a Terminus and put it away. It wasn't exactly Jace stopping him from doing that.
yeah, I mean, of course, the best part is the back and forth in these blue matchups because the games can swing quite a bit. But you see what happens in a fair matchup when True Name Nemesis is involved. It demands an answer, and it demands one pretty quickly. And Joe was unable to answer that card because it basically puts him on 3 Terminus or bust to get that thing off of the table. So we'll see if Bass is able to answer it in this third and final game. Again, don't forget that the winner of this match is going to play against Wyatt Archer playing Blue-Black Death's Shadow. We saw him a little bit earlier, the match that we did see him in. We actually saw him lose to Ty Thomason.
Yep. Maybe history will repeat itself, maybe not. I love the grudge match, you know?
Absolutely.
Oh, you got me the first time? We'll see about that.
On the other side, our updates here, Alexander Docknell, playing Merfolk. He's playing against Tommy Wills, playing Rug Delver. They're in a third and final game. We've got Avery Williams playing Ad Nauseam, playing against Kyle Edwards with Esper Stoneblade. Avery Williams currently up a game playing Ad Nauseam. So we'll see what does happen in that match. Really happy for Williams, too, after making that mistake on camera, sitting at 5-0. Just played a little bit too fast. Made a mistake with Infernal Tutor searching up Ad Nauseam when he had the kill. Didn't need to have Ad Nauseam, all those things. If you guys watched it earlier, saw the replay, you know what I'm talking about. And it'd be easy to get down to yourself and have your tournament just fold out from underneath you. But, he brushed that off and just kept right on winning, and now he's in the top 8 and up a game. potentially on his way to the semifinals.
Exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
Exciting. And it really is a testament to, especially how long these tournaments go. You know, you play 9, 10, 11 round tournaments, and it's easy to tilt yourself. You know, round 6, you make a mistake, you spiral down, but he picked himself by his bootstraps, ready to go. And hopefully wins the next game and gets his shot at that trophy there.
And we still have an update here that Docknell and Wells, Merfolk versus Rogue Delver, they're still battling out in that third game. And Avery Williams and Kyle Edwards are still in a second game. And now we got the update from the Avery Williams-Kyle Edwards match again. Ad nauseam versus Esper Stonblade. Pretty fast that Williams did win game 1. So if the game's going longer into game 2, I think that favors the Esper Stonblade player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Merfolk want to put it away real quick. Otherwise, we see a bunch of grizzly bears coming out. Not the greatest.
Alrighty, so both players going to look at their opening hands and see exactly what we do have here. Again, Joe Bass going to be on the play on the right. He's going to take a mulligan. Ty Thomason, how about you? He doesn't look thrilled. Quick update. Tommy Wells, Rogue Delver defeats Alexander Docknell, playing Merfolk. So Tommy Wells will be playing the winner of that Avery Williams Kyle Edwards match. Congratulations to Tommy Wells, who was our only player at X and 2 to make top 8. So he's kind of playing on house money here, and so far so good.
He is living on a prayer here, and he's doing well. And Rogue Delver is one of those decks that, again, that it doesn't really have a exceedingly great matchup. It really just depends on mana denial, efficient creatures early on, and of course being able to just daze, pierce, force everything that your opponent does. You know, tons of blue counter magic in those Rogue Delver decks, and we saw Silvery Vortex. That ain't bad, also.
So Joe Bass going to take a mulligan. Ty Thomason happy with his 7, at least happy enough.
Yeah.
Joe takes a little sip of Red Bull. Gonna get some wings.
Yep.
I'll see what happens here.
Battling into the wee hours of the night. Of course, Miracles is not a deck that's a 5-minute win deck. It's,
no.
Takes a lot of thought and a lot of grinding. And here we go, game 3.
So there is a Flood trying to start the thing off for both players here. Joe going to take a draw step. Does not have Sensei's Top on turn 1. Does have Volcanic Island on turn number 2. You see a counter spell in his hand as well. So Thomason going to play an island, pass the turn back. Tundra with the draw step here for Bass. He plays that. He kicks it back over to Thomason, who will take a draw step. He's got a basic Plains. Who's going to play the first spell? It will be Ty. He's going to play a Meddling Mage.
With 1 Suspicious Mana available. And it's going to resolve, and we'll find out what he named in a moment.
Swords of Plowshares is going to make that
matter.
irrelevant.
Yep. He did not name Sword of Plowshare.
Yeah, accurate.
Yeah.
See, Joe draws his card for the turn. Scalding Tarn. Passes the turn back. The name there from Ty was Red Elemental Blast with the Meddling Mage. So
Okay.
you see, that's a really important card in this matchup too.
It is.
Counters Jace, counters True Name Nemesis. Does not counter this one, however. Stoneforge Mystic put on the stack. Actual counterspell take care of it, though.
I love when I see actual counterspell.
Yeah, me too.
The old, we call it the hard way. Just
is this thing too good for? It's got to be too good for standard, right?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, I'm lying.
I want to see it back.
I mean, if they got rid of Mana Leak because of a bunch of crying over it, they're definitely not going to put this card in standard.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, Mana Leak wasn't even that bad. It was because of Snapcast.
Nah, Mana Leak was way too bad, man. It was way too bad.
I mean, it was around with Primeval Titan. I mean, come on now.
You ever broadcast matches of just watching Blue Art Delver Mana Leak 3 spells in a game?
That's what I'm saying.
It's awful.
Deck,
it's awful.
I played it fair in the Esper deck. It was fun.
It's awful magic. Like, oh, you've got a cheap spell counter, you got a big spell counter it, flashback counter it.
Yeah, like I think in conjunction it got a lot worse. I mean, you barely see it in Modern nowadays, and it's still a 2-minute counter spell. Very surprisingly.
I mean, it's contextual in the format, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's I guess now that I'm thinking about what Mana Leak did, counterspell is just unacceptable. Can't do that. There's a Batter Skull going to get hard cast here from Joe.
Yeah, counterspell pretty good. I'm actually digging Dissolve. The Scry mechanic's actually been pretty good for me. So.
Yeah, Dissolve's pretty sweet. I like that as a counterspell. I don't ever want to cast Cancel again. So
no, yeah.
That card's just like embarrassingly bad.
Yeah, and it had its day in the sun there. People have to play Cancel. You pretty much either played that or you didn't even have a hard counterspell for a little bit. And then we have Dissipate, which is just way better, of course, strictly.
Force of Will takes care of the Batter Skull, so that I would say that's not going to be a tool anymore for Bass, but he does have an Academy Ruins in his deck, so there's a potential to actually get that Better Skull back. But he forced some action, forced Thomason to have a counterspell, which he did. So now Thomason's going to play a Fluttershy. He's going to sacrifice that to get a Tundra. Going to go down to 19, I believe. Actually, he gained some life a little bit earlier from Meddling Mage, so 20 it is. And now here's Jace the Mind Sculptor at 3. Brainstorm, which you're probably in heaven right now.
Oh, yeah. If you're brainstorming, you're winning. I think there should be 4 different lines in there, but each of them should read 0, draw 3 cards, put 2 back. So I still would play the card. Would you play the card still if it had that only?
Those are its modes?
Yeah. Probably still play the card.
I'd probably still play the card, actually.
I mean, Brainstorm is just too fun. I mean, look how good Bellerin was. And that card barely did what a Jace could do.
Yeah.
You know?
See, Flooded Strand going to sacrifice, get a Tundra, going to make this a perfect Brainstorm number 1. And as I mentioned during Game 2, it only takes about 2 or 3 Brainstorms to get the game away from a player, especially in a mirror-type match. Bass looks like he's flooding a little bit on his side. He's played another land. It was a Scalding Tarn, just passed the turn back. So Thomas is going to start his turn by Brainstorming yet again. And you know he's just looking for something to get this game over with. He's got sort of Fire and Ice in his hand, looking for a card like True Name Nemesis to just put the cap on this game.
Yeah. Equipment and True Name Nemesis are just 2 peas in a pod there. The more we see it played, the more I kind of second guess my Lingering Soul strategy here.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it's doing all the work that Lingering Souls does and more. The only benefit of Lingering Souls is, of course, that if it gets countered, you can flash it back later as well. So
again, that card's just going to be a nightmare for fair decks that wouldn't care about a creature otherwise. You know, I think about decks, like a Maverick or, like a Death and Taxes decks that are kind of picking up right now. Play True Name Nemesis against those decks. All right, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You just can't do anything.
Yep. Can't kill it. Rug Delver couldn't kill it.
Yeah.
Either. Yeah.
That's the Stone Wall against Nimble Mongoose and a Tarmogoyf, and that's the kind of card you need to be able to beat those decks. So you've got Thomason here just brainstorming, passing, Bash drawing a decent amount of lands.
I love the 2 different dynamics here. You have Joe, who doesn't brainstorm ever, and you have Ty, who's just like me, who loves to brainstorm. You got a card's hand? Wait, look how many lands he has. Still brainstorming.
Yep.
I love it.
Not Fate Sealing, just brainstorming.
Nope, that Jace will stay at 3 until Ty's hand is crafted with everything he will ever need to beat the Miracle player here. And that's how you win with Jace. And he's brainstorming again. I'm just in heaven. We're having a good time.
I know.
I'm going to go shake his hand middle of this match here.
Good use of Jace.
Yeah.
Just keep pressing the 0 button.
Yeah, that's all you do.
Yeah.
0, 0, 0. I remember when you were commentating, I listened to it, and I started to tick the dice up to a 5, and you and I think you were with Osip.
I was with Tom Martell.
Tom Martell.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, he's going to Fate Seal. No! And then I put it back to 3.
Yeah, then you brainstormed again. Yeah, we thought you might Fate Seal once, but no. I think it was like 7 or 8 brainstorms in a row.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a great time. And I bet Ty's having a great time, too. It's just much more fun to draw 3 cards. You're doing more things.
There's the Boogeyman. True Name Nemesis.
And the thing is, this is a perfect example of Jason Mind Sculptor. Again, you're doing other things beforehand. You're dancing around. Everybody's, distractions all around. But the game boils down to Jason Mind Sculptor. If it's in play for turns and turns and turns, 1 or 2 you can survive. Like I mentioned, you can still win. This is 4 turns of Jason play already.
Yep.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, there's not, and of course, Joe is flooding out pretty bad. He doesn't have a top, hasn't drawn brainstorm, any of that stuff. But, this is the kind of card that Jace, where it's like if you're flooding or you're not doing anything irrelevant, so I'm going to make sure that everything that you actually end up finding will not be relevant.
Right.
That's the point of the card, is that it just is, it's the backbreaker. You just can't come back from it. And as you mentioned, I think this is the 5th turn that Jace has been in play, so this means that's the 5th brainstorm. We've seen a couple fetch lands get sacked here. True Name Nemesis has resolved. You see Thomason reaching for mana, going to go for a sword here. That's going to resolve. Equipsies. And now you've got an enemy that is attacking for 5 plus a sword trigger, so basically an attack for 7.
Yeah, and do you see his hand? Ty's hand is about, looks like 5 blue cards.
Yeah.
That is never a good sign.
Yeah. Spell Pierce the draw here from Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's going to pack it in. So Ty Thomason is going to win this match over Joe Bass. Blue-White Stoneblade, your 2 seed, is moving on. He'll be playing against Wyatt Archer, a player that he's already defeated in this tournament once. And our 2 seed, of course, will have the option to play or draw in that match on that side of the bracket. So congratulations over to Ty Thomason. His deck has been impressive all week long. I do not believe he has lost a match. I think he went 7-0, double draw, and then he just defeats Joe Bass, a player who has won an Open. He has won a Legacy Open in this building.
I am glad Stoneblade is doing very well. And not just because I'm a big Stoneblade advocate, it's because the article that's coming out tomorrow is kind of based around why Stoneblade is still a good deck